Hmm. Says she's on here, but I don't see her on here. Oh, here we go. There she is.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Hi,
Wait,
Ms.
I'm just gonna play with my sound for 1 second because it doesn't always like me.
How are you?
For some reason, sometimes it works, and other times I have the external plug and it's a little old, so the cord gets a little. I have to, like,
Gotcha.
wiggle it a certain way and then it'll work.
Gotcha.
All right, if you can. I'm not hearing anything. Hang on 1 second. Power of technology.
See, can you hear me now?
Oh, wait a minute. I almost heard you.
How about now?
We were talking about last week too. We were just giving a little talk about last week about the words that you learned and about how we could handle the situation if it happened to us.
Awesome.
Oh, there we go. Now we
You
hear
heard
you.
me? Awesome.
All right, we're good. Yes.
Good. Excellent.
Talked a little bit about Miss Mary's choices and how we could, with the term peer pressure. So they were talking just a little reminder of last week and what we could do. So I think
Awesome. Great. So who wants to tell us what peer pressure means?
All right, who can tell her? Who can tell Miss Shannon? All right, Kylie, why don't you come over so she can hear you better, and then you can be right in front of the screen, okay?
It's telling someone to do what they're not supposed to be doing.
Good, right? It's when someone else tries to make us make a decision, right? What was Miss Mary's peer pressure in the last story? I'm so glad we had a little review. This is great. What was her peer pressure? What was she up to? Let's see, I can't quite hear you.
She said if you don't give her a cookie, then she's not going to be your friend anymore.
That's right, right? What else did she say? She said friends should always do what your friends tell you to, right? But we know that was a myth. Who remembers the decision, the big decision Bows and Buttons had to make during the last story?
No.
Excellent. That's a good example of what they should have said, right? But they fell for Miss Mary's peer pressure, and so they got in trouble. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're responsible for our actions. So it was Bows and Buttons' fault that they got in trouble, right? Not Miss Mary's, even though Miss Mary did the peer pressuring. Good job, everyone. My last question about last week is, who remembers a little bit about Mr. Donovan's decision-making process? What are some good tips for making a big decision? Does anybody remember one of the pieces of his advice?
If they peer pressure you, you should say no.
That was a good piece of advice, right? We don't always have to listen to our friends. We know that that's not true. Good job. Who remembers another piece of advice Mr. Donovan gave us?
You need to listen to your family.
Good. That was another one, right? Our parents make rules to protect us, right? They have our best interests in mind. So telling Bows and Buttons not to eat the cookies before dinner was something they should have listened to, right? And Mr. Donovan told us that when we make big decisions, we should stop and think about them, right? Before we go with a decision that might get us in trouble, like Bows and Buttons did. So today's story is also about bows and buttons, and it takes place on another beautiful Saturday morning. So let's get started with today's Babes lesson. So one Saturday morning, the sun was shining very brightly, and it was a beautiful day. Buttons was very busy doing his chores. His mom had promised that he could go out and play when he was finished. I'm almost done. I can't wait to go play outside. Bows was upstairs in her room making sure everything looked perfect because she invited all her friends from Babes Club to come over and play. My room is so clean. My dollhouse is all organized. Everything looks great. I'm so excited for everyone to come over. And just then, the telephone rang. I'll go get it, Bows. Hi, Mom. Oh. Okay, Mom. All right. Bows, I have some bad news. Mom just called to say that her and Dad aren't going to be home in time, and so we can't go out or have any company until they get home. She said I can't go out and play outside until they get home later tonight. By that time, it's going to be dark out. That's not fair. Buttons, is that all you have to worry about? You're always complaining. Get out of my room, please. I'm waiting for my friends to come over. Bows, didn't you hear me? Mom said we can't have anyone over either. They won't be home. What? That's not fair. She promised I could have my friends come over today. How am I supposed to explain this to Babes Club? Ugh, that's just not fair. Bows was feeling very angry, and so she went to pout in her room. But just then, there was a knock at the door. Oh no, my friends are already here. What am I supposed to do? Honk, honk, hello everyone. Oh, boy, am I the first one here? Yeah, and you should probably leave. Bows, is something wrong? Well, early bird, Mom called and said I can't have any friends come over today. What am I going to do? I invited everyone. Honk, honk, honk. If your mom said that you can't have anyone over, you could get in trouble if you do. I'll talk from outside your window. Okay, we'll talk through the window. That way at least we won't get in trouble. Oh no, here comes everyone else. And of course, who was the first to stomp through the front door but, hello, Bows and Buttons, where are you? You invited us over today, and I don't know what you're going to do. You should never put off till tomorrow what you could do today. Wait a second, Miss Mary. I know you've heard that before, but remember not to repeat everything you've said, unless it fits the situation. If we can't hang out at Bows and Buttons' house because their parents won't be home, then we just have to learn to cope with that situation. Coping? What does coping mean? Well, coping is what we do when something happens that makes us unhappy. Something we can't change. Coping helps us to still have a bad day even if it starts bad. Let's say your best friend is sick and doesn't come to school today. You're disappointed, but there's other people to still play with, or you could draw them a picture to feel better. That is coping with the situation. That sounds like it takes some skills. I don't think I have any of those. Well, Miss Mary, we can always learn our different skills. And a skill is just something you have to practice. When you practice it, you can get very good at it. For example, if you're good at drawing or if you're good at skating like Buttons, those are your skills. Having good coping skills means you're good at handling unhappy situations. I remember when Mr. Donovan taught me about coping skills. Back in my youth, I used to make some bad choices about how to cope with bad situations. But now I know how to cope with those bad feelings, and I get to act better. That's so true, Reggie, and it's so important to learn. Guess what, boys and girls? Coping is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Hey, Bose, why don't you come learn this with me? I just don't think it's fair that Mom promised she'd be home and now she's not. Well, this is how we can learn to cope. You can ask yourself, step 1, can you change the situation? Boys and girls, can Bows and Buttons change the fact that their mom and dad won't be home till later? Can they do anything to change that? I don't think they can. So then they have to go to step 2. Accept the things you can't change. That means they just have to accept that they can't go outside to play or have Babes Club over their house. And then you can do step 3. I can change the things I can change. And so, the one thing we can change is our feelings. Bows and Buttons could think about what they can do to still have fun. Sometimes it's hard to know what we can change and what we can't change. It takes practice. That's why we call them skills. I think I know what Mr. Donovan means. I can't have everyone over because Mom said so. And I can't go outside and play because no one will be home to make sure I'm safe. I wonder if we can use these coping skills on other problems. Of course you can. These coping skills will work for you anytime you're upset about something you can't change. That is what coping's all about. Say, Bows, Buttons, what do you do together when Mom and Dad are away? Well, we like to play with my dolls, we like to do puzzles, we like to sing the I'm Special song. Oh my gosh, I do love the I'm Special song! That always makes me feel so much better. Say, Babes Club, thanks for being such special friends. Honk honk! No problem, everyone. It's important to know that we will come back another day when your parents are home. That's right, early bird. We don't want to get anyone in trouble, so we'll come back and play a different day. Will you really? You mean it? Thanks for being such special friends. Yeah, we're really lucky to have friends that understand. Bye, everyone. See you at school on Monday. And so, what's that big word Bows and Buttons learned today? Starts with a C.
Coping.
Coping. Good job. Coping was said a lot during today's lesson. That's our big Babes Club lesson. What does that word mean, coping? To do something when you're upset? Is that what you said? Good, excellent, right? It's what we can do to take care of an unhappy situation. Because if something happens that makes us upset, what if I spend the rest of my day just grumpy, pouting, angry? Is that going to make me feel good? Remember what we talked about what to do with bad feelings, right? If I'm upset about something, a difficult situation, I can learn to use my coping skills to take care of those bad feelings and to still find something fun to do, right? Some things we can't change. What was Buttons and Bows so unhappy? What were they so unhappy about in this story? What happened that was their difficult situation? Could you take off your mask and speak up?
They were unhappy about that. One couldn't go outside until they got home, and the other one wasn't happy because their friends couldn't come over because their parents weren't home.
Good job. Great memory. Exactly, right? They both had two different reasons to be upset, but it was both because their parents weren't going to be home until later in the afternoon, right? And so when everyone came over and they were talking through the window, they were still pretty upset because they thought their friends were going to be mad at them, right? But it's important to have friends that understand these difficult situations. When their friends came over, they understood that the rules had changed, right? Who remembers what Mr. Donovan said we should do with the things we can't change? The things we cannot change. It's a word that starts with an A. Who knows?
Take your mask down so she can hear you. Loud.
I forget.
I forget.
That's okay. It starts with an A. That's what we should do with things we cannot change.
Actions.
Actions, not quite, but very close. We should accept. To accept the things we cannot change. What does it mean to accept something?
You have to be happy with it.
Excellent job. Exactly, right? To accept something means I'm going to find a way to still be happy with this situation, right? So Bows and Buttons remembered that there are plenty of times when they get to play with only each other. What were some of the fun things they like to do together?
Play dolls.
Good, excellent. Anyone remember another thing they like to do together?
play hide and seek.
That's another good idea, right? Who has another idea?
Puzzles.
Puzzles, good. That was the other thing they said. So they both were pretty disappointed with the news that they couldn't go play outside or have their friends over that day, right? But coping is the skill of learning to accept that disappointment. There are all kinds of little things that might disappoint us, and it won't feel good to pout and whine and be all grumpy all day long, right? What will feel good is learning to cope. So today, Bows and Buttons learned what they had to cope with, and their good friends in Babes Club understood their difficult situation, and they understood that there's always next time to hang out, right? Rather than trying to get them in trouble like Myth Mary did last time. So I want us to think now. Let's imagine you had a difficult situation to cope with. Let's say this weekend you're planning on spending the day outside with your family. Maybe you're going for a hike, maybe you're playing catch, maybe you're just sitting outside. But when you wake up on Saturday, it's pouring rain all day long. What are some ways you can cope with that situation? What are some fun things you can still do with your family, even if it's raining so hard outside, raining cats and dogs? What would be a way you could cope?
Stops.
Wait till the rain stops? Good idea, right? You could reschedule your outside activities, maybe for Sunday instead. What else could you do?
So this is like the story I read to you about the camping trip. Think about the camping trip story that I read to you. Seeing people.
Ooh.
A puzzle together.
Great idea. You could do a puzzle together. Excellent. Who has another idea?
Play Barbies.
You could play Barbies. Excellent, right? Bows and Buttons love to play with their dolls. What else could you do? Play a game, right? You could play some video games, some board games. You could play The Floor is Lava. Let's see. Let's hear one more idea of how to cope with that rainy day story, rainy day situation. Great, I love that. You could read stories to each other. And see, there's so many different ways you can cope with a difficult situation. And just like Mr. Donovan said, coping is a skill we can practice. So that means if you ever get upset about something that happens, that's okay. Last week or a few weeks ago, we talked about what to do with difficult feelings, right? Coping is another great thing, another great skill to help us deal with those difficult feelings, right? Sometimes we might have to think creatively, think outside the box, but I bet there's always something we can do to cope with that disappointment of a difficult situation. Excellent job today, everyone. See if we can remember the definition of coping as our Babes lesson of the week. and I will see you all next Thursday. Bye, boys and girls. Thank you, Miss Marshall. I was wondering if, I see that you record these, and I was wondering if I could get a copy of that video just to send to my manager and show her.
Sure, absolutely, not a problem. I'll figure out how to do that. I haven't done that before, but I will definitely try to figure out how to do that and I can send it to you.
I think Zoom usually naturally saves it to the desktop in like a Zoom folder, and that file you should be able to just email to me.
Okay. I'll give
Cool,
it a
thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you. And it's funny because we just read a story about a camping trip and it rained the whole time and things that they were doing instead of the hiking and campfires and all that stuff. So it was
Good.
Perfect.
I love when the lessons overlap.
Yeah. Perfect timing. All right. Well, thank you so much and have a great week.
You too. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye, Miss Shannon.
Bye, everyone.